Hello friends, welcome to our YouTube channel English Improve. It was late autumn, the weather was wet and the wind had blown all the leaves from the trees. I was riding my horse across the wet muddy land. I was traveling alone. I was going toward a dark and random house, the house of Waits. Why had I come to this lonely place? I knew John Waits, the owner of the house. We were old friends, but we had not met for many years. 15 days ago, I had received a letter from John. I am ill, very ill. Please come and visit me. I am going very mad. I want your help. We have been friends since we were child. Please come. John waits. I had been riding all day and it was now late. The pale sun was low in the sky when I arrived at the house of Waits. A large river of black water surrounded the house. I stopped by the river and looked at the house. John Waits' house was a large black building. Its many windows were like empty eyes. Suddenly I felt cold and a little afraid. In front of me, a narrow road went across a bridge. I walked my horse along the narrow road until I reached the walls of the house. I knocked on the front door and a servant opened it. He took my horse to a stable. Then he led me inside the house. We climbed many stairs to his master's room. Lamps burned along the walls, but they gave little light. The long corridors and stairways were full of dark shadows. The servant opened a big wooden door and I looked inside a large room. At first I did not recognize the man who was lying on a sofa. He looked pale and ill. We were the same age, but he looked much older than me. His hair was silver grey and as soft as the web of a spider. I thought that John was asleep because his eyes were closed. But as I entered the room, he sat up. Then he opened his eyes. They shone strangely in the weak light from the lamps. I walked toward him. Welcome, my older and dearest friend, he said, but he did not shake my hand or come near me. Please excuse me, he said. I don't wish to be rude, but I am ill. I can't touch another man's hand. Please sit down. Rest a moment. A servant will take you to your room very soon. Then we shall have dinner and talk. I am glad that you have come. He went on. I have no one to talk to. My sister lives with me, but she is sick. At that moment, a woman walked into the room. She was very pale and her eyes shone strangely. She wore a black dress with a high collar. The collar covered her long neck. She did not look toward me and she did not speak. John Waits spoke to her. Lily, he said. Lily, this is my old friend. Lily did not reply. She crossed the room slowly. Then she turned and went through a doorway. Lily left the room as silently as she had entered it. John Waits put his hands over his face. My sister has a strange illness. She is neither awake nor asleep. I fear that she will not live long." He rang a bell, and a servant took me to my room. I lay on the bed and rested for an hour before dinner. I thought about John and his sister. They were both behaving strangely. I did not feel good in the house, but I could not leave immediately. I felt more comfortable at dinner. John asked me about my life. He looked happier. I forgot about his sister and the strange old house. John Bates looked after me well for several days. We ate and drank and talked. We read books in the library. I painted pictures. John plays the guitar. I did not see Lily again, and I did not ask about her. John had been alone for too long. He talked about happier days. We talked about the time when we were boys. But sometimes John suddenly stopped talking. He started in front of him. Then he turned his head to the left, then to the right. Was he listening to something? There was a look of sadness and fear on his face. I, too, felt afraid at these times. I did not like this house of Bates, but I had come a long way to visit John. I could not leave my friend. He wanted me to stay with him. As the days passed, John became more quiet and sad. One evening he suddenly came into my room. "Lily is dead," he said. I was shocked. I did not know what to say. I did not know what to do. "I need your help," said John Bates. Lily had been very ill. She was going to die. I knew this. But she must not be buried near a church. She will lie in this house. I will keep her body in a room under the house. Will you help me?" My friend's words frightened me, but I did not ask any questions. I do not know why. We carried Lily's body down many steps to a room under the house. No one had been in the room for many years. There were soft grey spiders webs hanging from the ceiling. The air was cold and damp. There were several lamps burning on the walls, but they gave little light. A wooden coffin was in the center of the room. I helped John to put his sister's body in the coffin. She wore a white dress. Her face was as white as her dress. John looked at his sister for a long time. "Lily will rest here," he said sadly. His face was pale, and I saw the bones of his skull beneath the skin. He had not eaten several days. Lily was not breathing and her heart was not beating, but Lily's body was not cold. Then I knew, and I was afraid. She was dead, but she was not dead. John fastened the lid on the coffin. Then he led me out of the room. "No one will ever come here again," he said. "Lily is resting now. No one will wake her." But from that moment, John Bates never rested. He did not sleep. How long can a man live without sleep? He walked from room to room. He started in front of him. He turned his head to the left, then to the right. Was he listening to something? Was John Watts mad? I, too, could not sleep. I lay on my bed and thought about the strange house of Waits. Suddenly, my bedroom door opened and John came into the room. He was holding a lamp. His eyes were bright and wild. Did you hear it? He said. Did you see it? Hear what? I asked. See what? You will understand soon, he said. He pulled back the curtains and opened the window. It was blowing and rain was falling. Then a flash of lightning lit the sky. A few seconds later, there was a crash of thunder. The wind blew into the room. It screamed as it blew around the room. The door